guys, and welcome to New Bike Day. This is Drew, and I'd forgotten to do an entire intro, so this one came into my mind, so I decided to just jump on and do it right here. I had gotten the bike down at Mountain Sports, and I'll take you there here in a moment, where we go over the bike and do some things that should be done when you get a bike, albeit being used or new, and you can just talk about some stuff, and yeah, I'll see you guys there. I'm here with Bobby here, down here at Mountain Sports, and we're going to, I bought a new bike day for me, yay. So we're going to go through and work on this bike and get it roadworthy and fit me and all neat and cool stuff. So, where should we start?
Let's put the pedals on first.
Okay, cool.
Let me get a pedal wrench back here.
See, what are these? The Shimano SPDs or something? FDR54s. So what these are is, when you're going around, normal pedals, you just have your normal foot on there. These go in here and click in. It's kind of hard to do it with your hands, but so you could push down, pull up, and do all sorts of neat stuff. And you have a hard surface here, so you don't have all that squishiness in your shoe.
Basically what it is a really stiff sole, so that when you push down on the pedals, the sole doesn't flex or invert, and your energy's transferred positively in moving you forward. Where if you're trying to ride in a running style shoe, running shoes have soft foam in the sole that's designed to absorb impact when you put your foot down like on a small rock or something like that. But what happens is when you try to ride in a pair of running shoes, the sole is not supportive, so when you push down, the sole is inverting, and because it's not stiff, it's not supporting your foot, causes the hot spots and soreness underneath the ball of your foot. And cycling shoes basically just are they're very stiff and very rigid, so it supports your foot and transfers energy.
Yeah, see, he knows more than I do.
Let's put some grease. Yeah. See the park, right, with a toothbrush sticking out of it? Right there. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Let's just get some grease and put it on these pedal threads. Get something on that one too. Basically, if you lubricate these the pedal threads before you put it in the crank arm, it won't, with time they'll start creaking, a little bit and make a noise if you put them in dry. So if you lubricate them when you put them in there, then it'll be easier to get out down the road and it'll be quieter.
Missed it. There we go. That's a large pedal wrench.
Yeah, it takes a little bit of leverage to get these things to break loose. There we go.
Cool. So, what else needs to be done on the bike? Roadworthy.
Well, this is a brand new bike, but on a bike that's had some a couple things you'd want to do before you go out on a ride would be lubricate the chain, and I can show you how to do that. That's pretty simple. Being new, it probably come from the factory's got some grease on it, but every few rides you should always lubricate your drivetrain. The way we recommend doing that is take old shop rag and hold it behind the chain, basically spray the lube, and coat the chain, kind of rotate the pedals around, repeat. And what you want to do is just keep on repeating this process until you've totally coated the chain. And then after you've done that, then what you want to do is either get on the bike and ride it a little bit, or if you're if you're like in a work stand, you can actually pedal backwards and And what you're doing is the chain's flexing, and it's going through the jockey wheels here on the rear derailleur, and it's flexing the chain in and out. And basically when it does that, the lube is penetrating internally into the chain, and that's where you want the lube. You don't really want the lube on the outside of the chain. So after you've pedaled backwards a little bit or ridden it a little bit, then the next thing you want to do is come and just take the shop rag and very loosely cover the chain. And what you're doing is just wiping off all the lube that's on the outside of the chain. And that's what attracts dirt. If you ever see chains that are covered in oil, and dark, that's where people have over lubricated it, and then when they ride it, dirt and stuff like that collects on the outside. But really, you only need lube on the inside. That's the reason we wipe it off.
Cool.
The other thing that you can do is to check, the tire pressure, and make sure that in road tires like this, if you look on the sidewall of the tire somewhere, there will be a inflation rating molded into the sidewall of the tire, and these tires should be somewhere around 100 psi. You want to make sure that you're pretty close to that 100 psi before you ride it, and good accurate gauge is a good thing to have. To make sure that you got the proper amount of pressure. If the tires are underinflated, what'll happen if most road bikes today have real high pressure tires, and if you haven't ridden in 2 or 3 days, you might lose 10, 15 or 20% of that that pressure that was in it a few days before. And if that happens and it gets just a little bit to the soft side, if you're riding down the road and you hit something, dropped off the shoulder of the road, hit a pothole or something like that, you'll compress the inner tube in between the object you're going over and the lip of the rim, and you won't get a puncture flat. It's a pinch style flat. Looks like they call it a snake bite because there are two little parallel slits in the sidewall where the inner tube got compressed between the lip of the rim and whatever you go over. That's probably one of the most common flats in a road bike. So it's really important that you probably gauge and inflate your tires up to the recommended PSI before each ride.
All right.
A couple other things we usually do before, especially on a new bike, that we always like to do is before it leaves, we always like to make sure that all these, in the stem here, handlebar stem here, that all these bolts right here are tight.
About how much torque on it?
It'll differ from one, from manufacturer of the stem and handlebars to another, and also the fork. This bike has aluminum handlebars and aluminum stem, so we just make sure it's nice and snug and they feel even. If it was carbon fiber, then we would have a torque wrench that we would use to check these and make sure they were tightened to the recommended inch-pound rating of the manufacturer.
Cool. So this bike is pretty much ready to roll, isn't it?
It's ready to roll. It just needs some good dry weather and somebody with some time off, and it's ready to roll out of here.
Cool. So I guess we'll throw on the emergency kit and bottle cages, and I'll go out for a ride later.
Sweet.
Awesome. Thank you, Bobby.
Hey, you bet. Thank you, Drew. Appreciate you, man.
I hope you guys enjoyed that. And I think it's time for me to enjoy this. I'll see you guys out on the roads. Whatever, let's do it. I'm tired.